What's going on, everybody? So we're doing the recap for Happy Gilmore 2 that was released yesterday, Friday. And for the most part, I thought it was a pretty entertaining movie. Wasn't better than the first one. There was some fan service in there, which I pretty much expected. And I got a laugh and some giggles out of a lot of different things. But I mean, I'm a nostalgia guy, so it's not better than the first one. So I want to kind of give a little bit of a deep dive review, talk about the film, show kind of some still shots of the of the movie, as I'm kind of talking about different things and stuff like that. So the beginning of the movie basically does a synopsis of the original movie, and he's talking about how he met his girl, at the golf course, and she was the the head of the golf course, like the public relations. And then he married her. He had 5 kids, and then it showed there was some scenes where it's showing the kids growing up and having like the hockey spirit, where they're trying to teach them how to play golf, and they're like, "No, we ain't doing it," and they just go in there and start beating people up like hockey style, like the old Happy Gilmore. It's pretty funny. So that was pretty funny. I didn't like there was a little bit of AI that was at the beginning of the film when they were talking about the old Happy Gilmore. Obviously, he's not a young man anymore. And they did take some shots from the old movie, but there was also some AI at the beginning, which I wasn't a fan of at all. You could tell that the people didn't look exactly like they did back then. And then when they moved, you could see a little different thing. So I wasn't a huge fan of the AI at the beginning. I don't know if that was a Sandler thing or I don't know what that was, but I wasn't a big fan of it. And then as he's telling the story, and you're meeting his kids, and they're giving a little backstory of his marriage. They go to a golf tournament, and his wife gets hit by a golf ball and dies. And this is kind of like, let me share my screen real quick. So right there, she's talking to him about basically like golf's in his blood. He's always going to be a golfer. And this is on Mother's Day, and he goes for his happy thing. And then she basically gets hit by a golf ball and dies, which was a twist that I didn't think was going to happen. I thought that she was going to be in most of the film. You know what I mean? But no, she's literally she literally dies within 10 minutes of the movie. So which was an interesting plot twist that I wouldn't have guessed off the bat. I would have thought that there had been some turmoil and some trials and tribulations with his marriage. I never thought she was going to die at the beginning of the movie. So that happened. So then she dies at the beginning. He starts drinking even more than what Happy already drinks. And he loses everything. He loses his grandma's house again. And he has to move into like a place with his daughter. and then his sons are living somewhere else, and they come visit each other all the time, because he couldn't afford anything bigger. Um, and then his daughter's really into like ballet and dance, and his her teacher's like, look, like she's better than me and better than I've ever been, and she needs somebody that's better to be able to teach her more. And she gave her name to a ballet company, and and Happy Gilmore was like, how much is it going to cost? And it was like 70 grand per year or something like that, something crazy. So he doesn't want to go golfing because he's so traumatized by his wife dying because of his golf ball hitting her. And he's a drunk, and he gets a job at a grocery store, and people are just like, why is Happy Gilmore working at a grocery store stocking shelves? Like, what is going on right now? So then there's a guy that is starting this new company. It's a golf company, and it's supposed to be like the alternative of like the boring golf. So it's almost like putt on steroids type thing, where it's like longest drivers and weird greens and all kinds of stuff, where it's like it's not the traditional golf, and it's like, what's boring, it's not 2025. So they came up with this wacky idea for like a new golf. So this guy who's starting this company goes to Happy Gilmore and is like, hey, I'd love to have you part of our thing. And Happy's like, no, that's not gonna happen. And he insults him, and he's like, well, what are you gonna do? You're gonna hit me? And Happy Gilmore calls on the thing. He's like, hey, can you disable the camera for about a minute and a half? Okay. As soon as she disables the camera, like, he ends up in the lobster thing. He's like floating around like the lobsters and stuff, or the seafood area. It was actually pretty funny. So so obviously this guy's got an axe to grind, and he doesn't like Happy Gilmore because he got messed up by Happy. So Happy Gilmore finally realizes from the kind words from John Daly. John Daly plays sort of like this, I wouldn't say a homeless guy, but he's sort of like a mentor uncle figure to Happy and his kids. And he just kind of just hangs out like in like the garage. It's like a converted garage. And John Daly's like, well, I can go somewhere else. He's like, no, we like having you here. So he gets inspiration from John Daly about getting back on the horse, basically. And he's like, if you're not going to be able to pay for, your kids' stuff, if you from a grocery store wage, like, it's not going to happen. So he let me share my screen again. So he convinces him to basically get back on the horse, and he goes to this golf course, and he's terrible, absolutely terrible, because he hadn't hit a golf ball in like 10 years. So that he gets like confused and doesn't want to do it. And he's like, what am I doing? Like, I'm not the same guy I used to be. So then he goes back to John Daly, and John Daly's like, dude, like, just keep doing it. Like you're a golfer. Like, you need to pay for your daughter's stuff. You need to keep doing this. So his kids work at a random places throughout the city. So they train him like sort of like a Rocky style type thing, where they give like a random like obstacle courses, and like he has to chase around like a drone, remote control car, and all this other stuff. Like, it's very unconventional like training method. So this is what this scene is his kids are telling him like where they work. And then after this scene, and when he wants to continue to train, they take him to their works, basically, and he's trying to chase around the cars, and he's trying to like run on a treadmill, and he's doing all this other stuff to get in shape. It's actually pretty funny, where it's just like, the unconventional Happy way of training, as opposed to just getting on the golf course. Like, that was actually pretty funny. And so he wants to join this open event, because the 30th place person is going to win the money that he needs for his daughter. So he's like, all I need to do is just place. like I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just trying to play so that I can pay for this stuff for my daughter. So then the hype starts coming back where Happy Gilmore's back, even though like he's still kind of figure things out. He's still a drunk and everything. And he goes to the tour championship. He starts just dominating. Like he's dominating everybody. He's in first place. And then he had talked to somebody and they're like, well, like how you spending your Mother's Day? And he mentally just dies basically because his wife died on Mother's Day. He hit her with a golf ball, so he basically just regressed. So the last day of the event where he was just supposed to just kind of not skate by, but just do what Happy's been doing for the whole tournament. He melts down. He starts getting drunk, and he completely screws up his probation. And he has to go to like AA meetings. So he starts going to AA meetings, and he goes there and he's looking around. He kind of meets some people, and then all of a sudden he hears a familiar voice, and he turns around, and it's Hal from the original Happy Gilmore, the one with his grandmother, like, you will sleep or I will put you to sleep. Like so it's Hal is like the head of like the AA meeting. So he's like putting him to work, like you better not be drinking because in about an hour you have to do my gutters. He's giving them like chores to do, and Happy's like, how is this helping our AA stuff? And he's just like, it doesn't matter, you're not drinking. So Happy Gilmore is doing like random chores around this guy's house and stuff. That was actually pretty funny. So like in the first one, his grandmother is being dominated, and the second one, Happy is like, all right, let me go do some chores. That was pretty funny. I want to say about 3/4 of the movie was actually pretty funny. There was a lot of throwbacks, a lot of different things. Was like, oh yeah, that's a nod to the beginning, the first one. So then, in this whole process of him trying to heal, and then him getting in trouble and breaking his probation, and going to AA, he goes to where his wife is buried, and it doesn't show him. It shows Shooter McGavin, because Shooter McGavin was let out of the institution by the guy that's from the rival golf club or golf company, because he wanted Shooter to be part of it. So he basically sprung him out of jail and everything. So then they show the gravesite, and it kind of flashes up, and it's Shooter McGavin standing there, and he's just like, I am so sorry that you died. You're a very sweet lady. And then all of a sudden you hear Happy Gilmore's voice go, Shooter. And he turns around. So there's this whole encounter between Shooter and Happy Gilmore at the gravesite. And he's like, are you ready? He's like, yeah, I'm ready. And they just throwing each other around and beating crap out of each other. And like, he's like, are we done? He's like, this is only round one, Happy. And he's like, did you didn't get all of it out of you? And he's like, well, maybe. And then Happy Gilmore just kind of reaches over and punches him. He's like, I got it all out of me. So that this whole like bitter rivalry was just a fist fight at the end, where they're just like, okay, I'm old. Like, are you done? That was pretty funny at the gravesite. And at the gravesite, that's where they did a lot of the tributes, where they had his wife buried there. They had his coach buried there. They had his grandmother buried there. So there was a lot of different people that were buried at this cemetery that they did a nod to, where it was like throughout the first Happy Gilmore. So that was cool. And then they fought like in this graveyard where all the people were buried, and so that was pretty funny. And then he goes and he gets like I said, he gets drunk. He messes up his tournament, getting top 5. He got some money, but he had to pay the league a bunch of fines because he screwed up and he was hammered, and they fined the crap out of him. So he lost money in the deal as opposed to gaining money. So one of the guys that was in the top 5 went over to the other golf organization, and he they were convincing this other guy, the guy from this new organization, was convincing people to get this surgery so that they could rear back more on their swing so that they could hit it farther. So this guy basically sold his soul to this operation to hit the ball harder, to try to beat everybody or whatever, to be the best. And they had found this out where this guy was getting the surgery about being able to crank the ball further with this surgery. And all 4 of these or 5 of these players that are in the tournament later all had the surgery so that they could hit the ball harder. So it was PGA players versus these weirdos that were a part of this new golf organization. So we'll go a little bit to that. So Happy, he's not in the top 5. He's not invited to do this 5-on-5 tournament with this new organization. And then this guy switches over to the other team. Happy Gilmore was actually 6th, so he got slotted into the tournament. So he's fighting this. He's doing this 5-on-5 golf tournament of basically the regular normal golfers versus the weirdo golfers with this weirdo league. And they agreed to do like the weirdo tournament style. It was almost like it was like a putt on steroids type thing, where it's like all long drives and the greens were weird. They had obstacles and had all this crazy stuff everywhere and stuff. It was kind of an amusement park on the golf course. It was actually pretty funny. So he agrees to be part of the team. He's doing all this training, and he finally gets part of this 5-on-5 squad. And then they're training and doing like weird training methods for this new golf, because it's not traditional golf. It's like I said, it's like golf. It's like putt like on steroids. And so they're doing this training method. And then let me share my screen real quick. Okay, so this is the scene after they're doing the weird training methods, when they were going and doing the the Happy Gilmore, where he was standing in front of the pitch machines. Remember in the first one where he's like, "I'm training," and he'd jump like this, and the ball would hit him. He like, he had the golfers in there doing that, and they're all getting knocked out and stuff. It was actually pretty funny. And this scene is basically where they're confronting him and saying, "Happy, like we tried to make you part of the team, and you didn't want to be part of the team, and now we're going to squash you." And this guy right here is the head of, he's like the Safdie sales guy, and he's the head of the new golf organization. The guy behind him is that golfer that was like the turncoat for the PGA, where he switched sides, and Happy Gilmore became the 5th person because this guy switched sides, and he had the operation so he could hit the ball harder and farther and stuff like that. So this is that scene. And then let me pull it up a little bit. Okay, so then this right here is the golf scene. This is the non-traditional golf, like the non-boring is basically they're saying that, well, it's boring and we need it like to be like a rock star feel to it, So it's almost like a theme park at a golf course, It's kind of funny. And right on the screen here on the top here is the regular golfers. And then you've got like the super freaks that are over on the other side that had the operation so that they can hit the ball farther and stuff like that. And then they had let me pull up see here. Okay, so this right here is Eminem. And do you guys remember the first Happy Gilmore where the guy was like, "You will not make that putt, you jackass"? This is supposed to be his son. So he starts, like, when Happy takes a swing, you hear Eminem go, "You will not make that shot, jackass." So this is supposed to be the son of the guy that says the jackass. And he's like, he's in the sizzler in the sky right now. So I'm here to represent my family. And it was kind of goofy. You could tell it was Eminem, and it was kind of a mockery of the guy, which I wasn't a huge fan of it. And then everybody basically goes against him. let me back it up just a little bit. And everybody goes against him, and they throw him in the lake, and then he gets swarmed by a bunch of alligators. It's not pulling up because it's real. Okay, so he falls on the ground. Everybody throws him in the lake, and he gets eaten up by a bunch of alligators. So his character is pretty much done. I wasn't a huge fan of this. I mean, the original guy basically passed away, and they didn't have it. Obviously, he wasn't available, and I just didn't like that particular part because it was kind of a mockery of the character, because the character was a pretty genuine guy. He was just kind of a jackass. Then he's just like, oh, I got some money. You want to go to the Sizzler? So I didn't care. I thought it was more of a mockery than it was did any kind of justice to the original character, you know. So yeah, that was one of the parts where it was kind of like, it was kind of lame, honestly. And then here's another part where, and this is one of the wrestlers from WWE. She's on the other team in the Freak team. And they all had the surgery so that they can hit the ball harder. And see what I mean? It's sort of like the Olympics and an amusement park and golf all at the same time. Like, it's like very rock and roll-esque, but a bunch of weirdos, basically. So this is like the snow and ice a hole, you know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of goofy, where it was like the regular golfers are like, well, how am I supposed to play in this? Like, what is going on right now? So obviously the other people knew what type of course it was, so they had a little bit more of an advantage. And then there was it was like a one-on-one with him and the guy that betrayed the PGA tour. So it was Happy versus him for like a one-on-one at the end of the thing. And then they had like let me pull it up a little bit. Let's see here. Okay, so the hole was, I'm trying to show where the hole was not a traditional hole. I don't see a good shot of it. The hole was like a circle, and it was lifted up. So you couldn't step on it, otherwise it would go one way. And I can't find a good shot of it. Yeah, it's not doing it justice, really. Anyway, okay, so Happy Gilmore basically gets his caddy to stand on one side, and he stands on the other, and they sort of just kind of like move at the same time so that the whole thing would stay level. And then the guy's like, well, watch this. And he presses a button, and the thing starts spinning real fast. And Happy Gilmore's like, if I make this putt, then you have to send my daughter to the dance class, or you have to send her to, you have to pay for it, and you have to give me a new car. And the guy's like, oh, you're not going to make this. Yeah, I'll make that bet all day. So so it's spinning real fast. Happy hits it, and it goes within like a milli-inch, like so small, like right at the edge of the cup. And Bad Bunny's character like falls, and when he falls, it knocks it in the hole. So Happy Gilmore won, and this guy had to pay for a bunch of the stuff that his daughter needs for like her dance and stuff. And that was pretty much how it ended. And then he went to like one of his final sessions of his AA meetings to talk to Hal and the rest of the people. And it was kind of a setup, because the girl that's behind him was talking to the cops the whole time, saying that Hal is, he's a no good guy, and he's having us basically do slave labor, and we have to clean his gutters and all this stuff. And she kept documenting everything. So she's like, okay, you guys can come in. And she has like a little microphone. And all of a sudden, like, all hell breaks loose, and there's everybody like, you see the cops in the background, and they come in and basically arrest Hal for all of his shady dealings with Happy Gilmore's grandmother, and then also the stuff that he was doing with this group of the AA people, where he was having everybody work. So basically, like, he had to go to jail and stuff. So it was funny. I thought, before I watched the movie, I thought Hal was going to be sort of like the evil guy, And he was, but he was more just like the user. Like he was just kept using everybody and oh, you need to cut my grass. And how does that have anything to do with AA? I don't care. You're not drinking. Like he would convince them to cut the grass and do the gutters and all kinds of stuff, paint his house. So the cops go there, they arrest this guy, and then he gets this new car from this guy, and it runs out of gas, or not runs out of gas, but he forgets to plug it in, and he goes and tries to turn it, because like the original car was in the first part of the movie, and then he couldn't start it; it wouldn't start anymore. So all the kids are beating up on it and stuff. So he did this guy losing the bet. Basically, he had to give him a car, and he forgot to plug it in. And then the movie basically has him with his golf clubs walking down the street going home. Kind of a fitting ending for Happy Gilmore. He pretty much started with nothing and now he has nothing. You know what I mean? Like, he has his Subway golf clubs. So out of 10, I would have to say, probably a 7 out of 10. And some of the reasons why it's a 7 out of 10 is because some of the AI at the beginning was not good. And it was AI and it just wasn't good. Some of the story bits, and I liked a lot of the fan service that they did with it. I wish they only talked about his grandmother like once, where he was like, well, I'm so sorry, grandmother, I lost your house again. And that's it. And Chubb was brought up because he went to his son who had the same fucked up hand. And then it was a weird scene where it was kind of like, well, I have resentment to you because you killed my father. But they had never met each other. And then all of a sudden they became best friends, even though they never met each other ever. So I wasn't a fan of that because that was kind of a weird scene where it was like they immediately became best friends. And he's walking around with Happy the whole time, like the second half of the movie. And it's just like, you guys just met. Like, and and apparently his resentment wasn't that deep because he immediately became your best friend. So that story point was kind of weird. The last quarter of the movie with the golf course, theme park, putt golf on steroids, I thought it was way overdone. I thought that they should have done it a different way and not made it so outrageous, because you have golfers, you have like some of the top golfers in the world that are standing there going like, okay, this is freaking dumb. Like, this is not even close to golf. You know what I mean? So like, I thought it was a little bit too over the top with the tournament at the end, where it was like, it was this whole big thing and it didn't make any sense. And they had to drive the ball 500 yards or something. And it's like, come on, that's kind of like far fetched, So the last quarter of the movie had a lot of flaws to it. I think it was overdone. But the first 3/4 of the movie I thought was pretty nostalgic, and there was a lot of fan service. Some of the notable people, like MJF played one of his kids. It was like MJF was like his oldest kid, his oldest son, and then he had 4 sons and a daughter, and MJF was the top, like the oldest kid. His performance was okay. I mean, he was one of the kids and he was acting like he was like a hockey player, like the original Happy Gilmore, where the kids like couldn't focus on golf, but they loved hockey. You know what I mean? Like, so that part was funny. But so yeah, I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. I thought it was pretty entertaining. You definitely have to watch the original to get all of the nods that they do in the movie. So yeah, I give it a 7 out of 10, and write what you guys think in the comments below, and like and subscribe and all that stuff. And thank you so much, everybody, for watching and liking and subscribing and all that stuff. Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate it, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for our wrestling actors that do wrestling and wrestlers that do acting. and it's gonna be me and Julio, and we're gonna talk about different movies that wrestlers were in. I have a little thing where we can rate how good they are, if they're superstar actor or if they're terrible. It's like a little thing that we can do with that. It's gonna be a pretty fun stream tomorrow. And so yeah, thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.